Good morning, members of the Selma Lagerlöf Society and friends of Selma Lagerlöf around the world. I am Ian Griffiths. I'm Creative Director of Max Mara since 2005, and I am delighted to accept the Selma Lagerlöf Scholarship on behalf of Max Mara and my creative team. I'm sorry that I can't be present in person to meet you right now, but in this little video I would like to tell you a little bit about our project. It was our 2024 resort show, the collection which was launched at a fashion show in Stockholm at the Stadshuset on June the 11th, 2023. With editors and journalists from 33 countries, Selma Lagerlöf and our collection was featured in 130 printed editorials and over 1,000 online editorials. The vast majority, of course, referenced our muse, the legendary Selma, and in crude monetary terms, the value of the press coverage was in excess of 40 million euros. It's one of my most pleasant responsibilities as creative director of the brand to identify locations for our resort shows. We've always regarded them as an important opportunity to highlight a narrative which emphasizes Max Mara's brand values. In the past, we've shown at the Neues Museum in Berlin with a collection inspired by Marlene Dietrich, at the Gulbenkian Museum in Lisbon, inspired by the poet and the radical politician Natalia Horia. And on the island of Ischia, we imagined the swans, the heroines, real-life heroines, described by Truman Capote. My feeling for 2024 was that with vast areas of Europe becoming uncomfortably hot during the summer months, the Nordic region would become increasingly interesting as a destination. And that would bring with it a commensurate interest in its geography, culture, folklore, art, history, and of course, literature. I have to explain that I was motivated by the notion of Scandinavia in general rather than by a specific country in the Nordic region. My first thoughts about that region were coloured by my childhood memories of Nordic mythologies and folklore, of course, and I wanted that to be a very important theme within the collection. But I was also drawn to the 19th and early 20th century Scandinavia, the world of Ibsen, Munch and Kierkegaard. Visits to the Thiel Gallery led me to reflect upon the unique Scandinavian contribution to the modern metropolitan self. Of course, I was aware of the Nordic countries' progressive values, particularly in the area of gender equality, but I was struggling to find a single factor that could draw together all these diverse themes: folklore, politics, art, contemporary culture. And I confess I was only dimly aware of Selma Lagerlöf. Then I saw a portrait of her by Carl Larsson at the National Museum, and my guide described her as a national icon. She's on your banknotes. I spent the greater part of the next few weeks reading her work, and by the time I returned to my office, it was over Christmas, I was certain that I had found my muse. In the figure of Selma Lagerlöf and in her writing, I discovered a charismatic and powerful woman, described as a charming and humble sagatante, a quaint, sweet storytelling aunt, an adept navigator of complex human psychology, and a champion for social reform, all at the same time. To read Lagerlöf is to enter an enchanted universe where magical things might happen at any moment and one might encounter strange and compelling characters. In Lagerlöf's oeuvre, the extraordinary becomes normal and the normal is extraordinary. My fashion sense told me that the world is ready for a little magic now. The Max Mara woman, who is extraordinarily linear, elegant and pragmatic, might now be ready to wear something that hints at the idea of a fairy tale. I was determined that our show should be held as close as possible to the time of midsummer, that time when the possibility of magic seems most tangible. Midsummer, a time such as that when big Ingmar and strong Ingmar had a vision of paradise, when, to quote Lagerlöf, the whole firmament had been drawn back to left and to right like a pair of curtains. Lagerlöf does not shy from the fact that fairy tales work best when they're painted in light and shade. Midsummer is magical and dreamlike, but the dream can be as disturbing as it is delightful. I tried to convey this almost gothic sense with my choice of music, a remix by Johnny Dynell, the New York DJ with whom I've been working for over 15 years, of Swedish singer Nina Cherry's 2012 cover of Suicide's Dream Baby Dream, with its hypnotic beat, slightly delirious sounding vocals and a dissonant saxophone and xylophone. The saga of Gustav Berling, pardon my Swedish pronunciation, presents a cast of complex and nuanced characters, including a defrocked drunken minister turned cavalier, an unfaithful wife and undutiful daughter, who is painted both as a fairy godmother and an evil witch, damsels in distress, star-crossed lovers, an evil mill owner, a stingy priest, animals, birds, rivers and hills even are anthropomorphized. My intention was to present each look on the runway as a fully formed character with a light and a dark side, not in the literal sense recreating the cast of the novel, but most definitely in the spirit of Lagerlöf's characterizations. Stockholm's Stadhuset is, of course, the venue where the Nobel Prize winners are celebrated, and the choice of venue was in itself a tribute to Selma Lagerlöf, who was the first woman ever to win a Nobel Prize for literature. The venue also has the quality of a fairy tale palace. I hope that the themes of our collection are self-evident, with Selma Lagerlöf the unifying factor throughout. Some outfits tend towards the world of folklore, magic and fairy tales with, for example, talismanic tassels, braids, studs, floral patterns and crowns. Others hint at the strict, upright, buttoned-up look of the 19th century, and we're aware, by the way, of Selma Lagerlöf's absolute passion for fashion. So we featured leg of mutton sleeves, or gigot sleeves, and long A-line skirts, and made occasional references to the blurring of gender distinctions with mannish boxer shorts, shirts, and half-fastened bow ties. You have to remember that this is a collection of contemporary fashion, not a costume drama about the life and times of Selma Lagerlöf. Nevertheless, the clarity of our inspiration was such that the majority of editorial features that covered the show made specific reference to Lagerlöf. Without doubt, this was a very successful project for Max Mara, thanks to the efforts of so many individuals, not only my designers, but also technicians, press and public relations people, stylists, musicians, models, photographers, hair and makeup artists. We hope that we have done something to spread the name and fame of this remarkable woman around the world and across generations. Fashion is often regarded as a frivolous and superficial activity, though not by us at Max Mara. This award vindicates our view that fashion can propagate meaningful messages in a highly relatable way, just as Selma Lagerlöf herself used the popular idiom to support work with intellectual integrity. We regard this award as an academic seal of approval on top of the popular plaudits and the commercial success that the collection has enjoyed. In short, we are delighted and greatly honoured to receive the Selma Lagerlöf Scholarship. Thank you.